Yo, it's Steven. So Mexico is home of Pueblos Mágicos, and one of the Pueblos Mágicos in Mexico is called Real de Catorce. And Real de Catorce is this little village in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. It's in the mountains, and it's popular because it's like you're walking back in time. It's like you're in 1800s, 1700s in Mexico, because it's just a little village where you can go around, shop, eat, just take a look at the old Mexican homes, and it's a pretty cool place. But there's a dark side to Real de Catorce that you might not know if you make the mistakes that I made when I was there. So my friend and I, we drove to Real de Catorce from San Luis Potosí. It was about a 3-hour drive, and let's just say the roads in Mexico, obviously, as most people know, aren't the greatest. And I had the great idea to put on some Bad Bunny while we're driving. And as I was looking at my phone and driving, which I should not have been doing, I decided to select a Bad Bunny song. I was just about to start dancing, and all of a sudden I hear bang! Let's just say that the roads to get to Real de Catorce are not like normal roads. They're very, very rocky and bumpy, and it's not like little rocks like this. It's like, the best way I can describe it is like they're little bumps, like rocks about this big. So you're just doing this the whole time. And I got too far to the right side of the road. And what happened is one of the wheels came off the road into like the ditch, more or less. And I popped the tire. The problem is that there's really nobody, literally there's nothing. Like 2 hours away from Real de Catorce, it's just there. And we were just kind of stranded there for a little bit, waiting for some help. If anybody was, there. Thank the Lord. About 5 minutes later, there was a Mexican family that helped us out, and we got a tire on our car. And we arrived to Real de Catorce, safe and sound. Everything was fine. But that was not going to be the end of our crazy day. So we eventually roll up into Real de Catorce, and when we arrived, we realized that the spare tire was also going flat. So we realized that we were going to need to replace the tires again, and there were obviously no mechanics in this little village in the middle of the mountains in Mexico. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to get this tire replaced? The nearest tire replacement place, or whatever you want to call it, the nearest auto repair shop was 3 hours away. The mechanic was not going to be able to arrive to this Pueblo Mágico for 3 hours. And we're like, okay, well, we arrived at like 10 a.m. So, okay, they'll be there at 1 p.m. So we decided to go around the city, obviously, and take a look at what it had to offer. Did some fun things, had some good food. And we then realized, okay, it's 1 p.m. The guy still hasn't arrived. And there were no other options. There was no other options. Like, there's literally nothing. If you take a look at the map, nothing around. So what ended up happening is we just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for this guy to show up. And we already saw the whole city, so we were just kind of like waiting at this point, like, all right, what do we do now? Like, we've seen everything, we've done everything. Like, what can we do? Just wait. So that's what we did. Day turned into night, and it started to get really, really cold. The sun set, we're in the mountains, and everyone thinks, oh, Mexico, we're on the beach, it's all hot and sunny. No, I froze, and I'm from the north of the United States. I'm living in northern Ohio, so when I'm talking cold, I mean, it got really cold. I was so cold that I was doing, this, but like I put my arms in my shirt and started like hugging my body. It was miserable. And I don't know what 3 hours in Mexico means, but it does not mean 3 hours, because the guy arrived at 10:30 at night, and our car broke down at 10 in the morning. Well, not our car broke down, but the tire popped at 10 a.m. So 3 hours turned into half a day, and we're waiting here, and this guy comes, and he's like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have to go take it to the shop. And I'm like, oh, there's a shop here. Okay, well, why didn't we know that in the first place? So we roll our car down to this shop, and it really wasn't a shop. It was like the most, I don't even know what you want to call it, the most makeshift auto repair place ever. I mean, we walked in, it was just a bunch of barbed wire, like just caged fences, a bunch of like rusted old parts on the ground. There were like some stray dogs around, a lot of old cars. And we're like, do you have any tires? And he's like, oh, you know, maybe we have one, maybe we don't, blah, blah, blah. He had one tire left, thank the Lord. But this tire, he told us, you know, you can't drive fast with this. Like, it's gonna pop. You gotta drive really slowly getting out of here. And again, let me remind you, we arrived at this auto repair place at like 11:30 at night. So he changes the tire, and we hit the road. And when I mean we hit the road, we were going maybe 20 miles an hour, if that, down this mountain with all these bumpy, remember the rocks are like this, so we're just bumping around the whole time. And I don't mean bumping like, you know, listen to music. I mean, we were going super slow. It was like grandma driving. So we get to the gas station, fill up with gas, and just a slow roll down the hill until we hit the highway. Now, by the time we got to the highway, I think it was maybe 1 a.m. It took forever to get off the mountain. And the highways in Mexico aren't necessarily like the highways in the United States or in Europe. They have speed bumps all the time. And that was another concern of ours. Like, okay, we hit a speed bump. Like, we've got this tire that's gonna pop if we go too fast. You know, if we hit these speed bumps too hard, it's gonna pop too. So we're going like 40, 45 miles an hour on the highway. Thank God it was late because there wasn't a whole lot of traffic. I mean, we would have pissed so many people off if we were on the highway during the day going 40, 45 miles an hour. But my friend and I were sitting in the front seat, and we are so tired from just walking around all day waiting for this guy for hours to come and fix our car. And I'm not even joking, I was falling asleep. Like, I don't know if you ever, like, it's at night and you're starting to see like colors in your eyes because you're getting tired and sleepy. Well, that was happening. I was driving and I was starting to get like, you know, all right, like, am I awake? Am I in the real world or am I dreaming? And my friend would notice that I'm starting to, you know, fall asleep. She'd be like, Steven! And I was like, oh crap, you know, I'm driving. And then I'd start driving, and I needed her to be awake because if I fall asleep, you know, we're gonna die. So I'm driving, and then I notice that she's falling asleep. I'm like, hey, wake up! And she wakes up, and then I start falling asleep. So we're waking each other up. It was like 2 hours of just constant back and forth, like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Her mom's in the back seat. She fell asleep. So I'm relying on one person to keep myself awake, and she's relying on me to keep her awake. And so we finally get back to her home. It's like 3:30 in the morning. It took 2 hours, or probably even more than that. I mean, we probably got back at like 4:30 now that I think about it, because it took about 2.5, 3 hours to get to Real de Catorce, just driving normally. And to this day, you know, I've been thinking, what's worse? Waiting hours upon end for a guy to show up to replace our tire and fix our car when we don't have a tire and we're freezing and it's super cold and it's windy and it's night, or falling asleep at the wheel and driving 20 miles an hour down a mountain to get on the highway to go 40 miles an hour and then falling asleep and just wanting to get to a bed. And I have decided that the sleeping part was better than the cold. I mean, it was so cold up there, and I still recommend going to Real de Catorce, but get out of there before the sunset, and make sure you have a spare tire, and make sure you have blankets, and make sure you're not an idiot like me, and don't go on your phone when you're driving. And that's basically the lesson from my little story. So thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for the next video, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.